further ado, I would like to welcome and introduce our next keynote for day 2. One of my heroes and who personally shaped my worldview about the peer movement and just I'm very excited to welcome David Oakes. David Oakes has been a psychiatric survivor, human rights activist, since 1976, 44 years. Both his grandfathers were coal miners, and he was raised working class in Chicago's South Side. David attended Harvard on scholarships, including from his father's union. While he was in college, David was placed in psychiatric institutions 5 times, where he experienced forced psychiatric drugging and solitary confinement. However, despite all that, in 1977, he graduated from Harvard with honors and chose to be off all psychiatric drugs. And with the support from other mental patients liberation front leaders, including author Judy Chamberlain, he started one of the first user-owned and run psychiatric survivor community drop-in centers. David moved to Oregon in the 1980s and helped start the nonprofit that became Mind Freedom International, one of the main independent human rights coalitions in the mental health field. He served as Mind Freedom International's executive director for 25 years and spoke in dozens of countries. In December 2012, David experienced a severe accident. He fell and broke his neck and became a quadriplegic with a disabled voice using a power chair. David lives with his wife Deborah in Eugene, where he is an activist for a nonviolent revolution, not only in mental health, but in challenging climate crisis denial. He has now launched a green disability consulting business, Achu Institute. Welcome, David.
Thanks. And thank you, Janie, for the introduction.
Thanks, and thank you, Janie, for that introduction.
Here's Ian, one of my home care team. He'll repeat me.
Here's Ian, one of my home care team. He'll repeat me.
We'll go a little long because I'm being repeated.
We'll go a little long because I'm being repeated.
Wonderful to follow Drake.
Wonderful to follow Drake.
Drake and I worked together many decades ago.
Drake and I worked together many decades ago.
Congrats, Drake.
Congrats, Drake.
And also everybody who organized Peerpocalypse.
And also everybody who organized Peerpocalypse.
You've worked so hard for so many years.
You worked so hard for so many years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, this is my 44th year doing this work.
Yes, this is my 44th year doing this work.
So if you're brand new, you are equal.
Though if you are brand new, you are equal.
So the theme of my talk is about how we are the 100%.
So the theme of my talk is about how we are the 100%.
Or as one of my caregivers says.
Or as one of my caregivers says, Camus,
if you're not crazy, you may be nuts.
If you're not crazy, you may be nuts.
With COVID, climate crisis, and everything happening, it's true never.
With COVID, climate crisis, and everything happening, it's truer than ever.
If you're not crazy, you may be nuts.
If you're not crazy, you may be nuts.
So let's see the first slide of my title.
So let's see the first slide with my title.
So when I refer to our movement, I like to say mad pride.
So when I refer to our movement, I like to say mad pride.
Because for me, yeah, I am MAD,
Because for me, I am MAD.
and that stands for marginalized and disempowered.
And that stands for marginalized and disempowered.
And there's no definition of mental disorders that is universal,
There's no definition of mental disorders that is universal,
but MAD, marginalized and disempowered, really rings true.
but MAD, marginalized and disempowered, really rings true.
So MAD Pride was inspired by gay pride.
So Mad Pride was inspired by gay pride.
We're proud to speak out.
We're proud to speak out.
Many of the folks who are here like me have experienced forced psychiatric drugging,
Many of the folks here are like me who have experienced forced psychiatric drugging,
solitary confinement,
solitary confinement,
the sharp end of the needle,
the sharp end of the needle,
in lockups,
and lockups,
labels. Some folks here have gone through homelessness,
Some folks here have gone through homelessness,
many through discrimination.
and many through discrimination.
And I know I'm proud to have lived experience,
And you know, I'm proud to have lived experience,
to be someone who survived being labeled schizophrenic, bipolar, depressed,
to be someone who survived being labeled as schizophrenic, bipolar, depressed,
and my identity is psychiatric survivor.
and my identity is psychiatric survivor.
In fact, radical psychiatric survivor.
In fact, radical psychiatric
Meaning
survivor,
to the root.
meaning to the root.
That said, I very much respect a wide point of view, variety of point of views.
That said, I very much respect a wide variety of points of view.
I'm a mental health consumer too.
I'm a mental health consumer too.
For 8 years, I have regularly gone to my psychologist
For 8 years, I've regularly gone to my psychologist
because, folks, after I fell, I sure had PTSD.
because, folks, after I fell, I sure had PTSD.
I'm talking about waking up over and over and think I'm falling on the ground.
I'm talking about waking up over and over, thinking I'm falling on the ground,
And I can't even move in bed.
and I can't even move in bed.
Kind of funny, really.
Kind of funny, really.
But my psychologist helped me conquer the horrible parts of PTSD.
But my psychologist helped me conquer the horrible parts of PTSD.
We need to unite
We need to unite
people like myself who've rejected psych drugs.
people like myself who have rejected psych drugs.
We unite with folks who choose psych drugs.
We unite with folks who choose psych drugs.
We're voices for choices.
We are voices for choices.
And now, with the world in crisis,
And now with the world in crisis,
we are the 100%.
we are the 100%.
Next slide.
Next slide.
As mentioned, I started in Mental Patients Liberation Front.
As mentioned, I started in Mental Patients Liberation Front.
One of the first folks I worked with was Judy on the left.
One of the first folks I worked with was Judy on the left.
And we're going to be talking about a bunch of folks who have passed.
And we're going to be talking about a bunch of folks who have passed.
On the right, I met Cookie
On the right, I met Cookie
at an alternatives conference
at an alternatives conference
in Portland.
in Portland.
So as I talk about our past leaders,
So as I talk about our past leaders,
feel free to not just say present
feel free on the chat to say present
or as they say in Spanish, presente,
or as they say in Spanish, presente,
because our leaders are here.
because our leaders are here.
Being dead is an extreme disability.
Being dead is an extreme disability,
But we hear you, Judy.
but we hear you, Judy.
We hear you, Cookie.
We hear you, Cookie.
All right. Now, I mentioned there ILF,
Now, I mentioned the ILF,
Insane Liberation Front,
Insane Liberation Front,
one of the first groups in our field, in our era,
one of the first groups in our field in our era.
started right in Portland.
It started right in Portland
Tom Whittick might still be around.
by Tom Whittick, who might still be around.
Please, if you see him, I'm looking for him.
Please, if you see him, tell him I'm looking for him.
So our field is hardly any archives.
Now, our field has hardly any archives.
The ones I know about are UMass, OHSU, and Toronto.
The ones I know about are at UMass, OHSU, and in Toronto.
Next slide.
Next slide.
There I am with Justin Dart
There I am with Justin Dart
before my fall.
before my fall.
And Justin and us wear the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
And Justin had us wear the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
He's on his way to the Smithsonian
He's on his way to the Smithsonian,
with an MHA conference.
an MHA conference.
And Justin is called the father of the Americans with Disabilities Act,
Justin is called the father of the Americans with Disabilities Act,
which celebrates the 30th anniversary this Sunday.
which celebrates its 30th anniversary this Sunday.
Justin over and over and over called for revolution
Justin over and over and over called for revolution.
in the field of disability. He and his wife felt that we have our movement is a fire in their belly
In the field of disability, he and his wife felt that our movement has a fire in our belly.
of all disabilities. We're fighting hard.
For all disabilities, we're fighting hard.
Next.
Next slide.
So here are some of our past leaders.
So here are some of our past leaders.
Just a few. There are many.
Just a few because there are many.
Bonnie, professor in Canada.
Bonnie, a professor in Canada.
Janet, who I met in Portland
Janet, who I met in Portland
at the NARPA conference.
at a NARPA conference
1988.
in 1988.
Co-founded Mind Freedom.
She co-founded Mind Freedom.
Next.
Next slide.
Leonard Roy Frank.
Leonard Roy Frank.
His birthday was July 15.
His birthday was July 15th.
Mad Pride Month, folks.
Mad Pride Month, folks.
Our local group has named all of July to be Mad Pride Month.
Our local group has named all of July to be Mad Pride Month.
Hardly anybody knows.
Hardly anybody knows.
Appropriately enough.
Appropriately enough.
There's Howie,
And there's Howie,
who helped start ILF
who helped start ILF
and was a pioneer in peer support.
and was a pioneer in peer support.
Sunday. Next
Presente.
slide.
Next slide.
David Heine just died this week.
David Heine just died this week.
He made many documentary films,
He made many documentary films,
including Little Brother, Big Pharma,
including Little Brother, Big Pharma,
about how his little brother is heavily overdrugged.
about how his little brother was heavily overdrugged.
And there's Kate, one of the main feminist leaders from the 70s.
And there's Kate, one of the main feminist leaders from the 70s,
Psych survivor.
a psych survivor.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Lauren Mosher,
Lauren Mosher,
a dissident psychiatrist, would like to hang out with us.
a dissident psychiatrist who likes to hang out with us,
And a leader.
and a leader.
Pat Risser, many of you remember Pat.
Pat Risser, many of you remember Pat.
Pat, you're here.
Pat, you're here.
They label deceased apparently as bullshit too.
The label deceased is apparently bullshit too.
And Pat really, really went after Nami.
And Pat really, really went after Nami.
Now, like Martin Luther King said, love your enemies.
Now, like Martin Luther King said, love your enemies.
But like Jesus, they used the word enemy.
But like Jesus, they use the word enemy.
And NAMI members, we love you.
And NAMI members, we love you.
But NAMI itself has been an enemy of our movement
But
for decades.
NAMI itself has been an enemy of our movement for decades.
And we hear you.
Pat, we hear you.
Next slide.
Next slide.
So the way we organized years ago
So the way we organized years ago
was called the International Conference on Human Rights and Psychiatric Approach.
it was called the International Conference on Human Rights and Against Psychiatric Oppression.
Very long,
Very long.
but a way to remember the initials.
But a way to remember the initials?
ICO Rapo.
ICO Rapo.
ICO Rapo.
ICO Rapo.
And for 10 years, we radicals would meet and organize
And for 10 years, we radicals would meet and organize
before the internet.
before the internet.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Guess what?
Guess what?
Last ICO Rapo was in Vermont in 85.
The last ICO Rapo was in Vermont in 85.
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there.
Big fight.
Big fight.
Why?
Why?
Because SAMHSA was funding alternatives.
Because SAMHSA was funding
The
alternatives.
radicals smelled a rat.
The radicals smelled a rat.
Guess who was there? The mayor in Burlington.
Guess who was there? The mayor in Burlington,
Bernie.
Bernie.
So let's restart ICO Rapo.
So let's restart ICO Rapo.
Please, everybody, email me at the end of this. We'll have my email address. I want to hear from you.
So please, everyone email me at the end of this. It'll have my email address and I want to hear from you.
We had a beautiful workshop yesterday
We had a beautiful workshop yesterday
about affiliates
about
for
affiliates.
mind freedom.
Affiliates for mind freedom.
One person emailed me.
One person emailed me.
Come on.
Come on.
Email me. I mean, so much.
Come on, email me. It's not much.
Next slide.
Next slide.
So there I am with Patch Adams,
So there I am with Patch Adams,
psychiatric survivor,
psychiatric survivor,
and Deborah and I, my wonderful wife,
and Deborah, my wonderful wife, and I.
always sneeze when you hear normal.
We always sneeze when we hear
I'll
normal.
show you.
I'll show you.
See normal.
Normal.
True, Deborah.
Achoo!
So, and then with Patch, he has Gesundheit.
And with Patch, he has Gesundheit.
So, funny thing about Achu,
So a funny thing about Achu,
in Lithuanian, it means thanks.
in Lithuanian, it means thanks.
So you can go around round and round.
So you can go round and round and round.
Different. True.
That sounds right. That
True.
sounds right. That
True.
sounds right.
True. So next slide.
Next slide.
So I have a lot of time as a quad to think.
So I have a lot of time as a quad to think.
In fact, Ian can tell you I can memorize double decks of cards and 12 cards.
In fact, Ian can tell you I can memorize double decks of cards. That's
Right,
112
Ian?
cards.
Right?
It's true. Yeah.
42 times perfectly.
Done it 42 times perfectly.
So I have a game
So I have a little game,
and we can play it on chat.
and we can play it on chat.
Now, the first step is to stir up a sneeze.
The first step is to stir up a sneeze.
Say normal or anything that starts a sneeze.
Say normal or anything that starts a sneeze.
Number 2, on chat, you gonna sneeze.
Number 2, on chat, you're going to sneeze.
I'd like a 5, true.
I like a 5 chew.
True.
Chew.
Sneeze into your arm.
And sneeze into your
From
arm.
my nose in.
This one?
Which one? So then, what do you say when you sneeze?
So then, what do you say when you sneeze?
Number 3, Gesundheit.
Number 3, Gesundheit.
Don't worry about the spelling, just means health.
Don't worry about the spelling, it just means health.
Now, 4th step, crucial.
Now, 4th step, crucial.
Thank you, fill in the blank.
Thank you, fill in the blank.
Thank you, organizers.
Thank you, organizers.
Thank you, Drake.
Thank you, Drake.
Thank you, Sky.
Thank you, Sky.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Patch.
Thank you, Patch.
Okay, number 5,
Number 5,
revolution.
revolution.
This position I call Justin.
This position I call Justin.
Just in time.
Just in time.
I Justin over and over called it for revolution.
Like how Justin Dart over and over called for revolution.
So now let me talk to you directly.
So now let me talk to you directly.
So my new chair has a feature.
So my new chair has a feature.
I can rise up.
I can rise up.
Rise up.
Rise up.
Okay. Rise up.
Okay, rise up
Revolution.
for revolution.
Ian, me my rubber chicken.
And Ian, I need my rubber chicken.
So I've done more than 1,000 screenings
So I've done more than 1,000 screenings
of normality
of normality.
and never fun. Now let's play the game.
Now let's play the game.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Revolution.
Revolution.
There you go.
There you go.
Now, suppose someone says, what kind of revolution?
Now suppose someone says, what kind of revolution?
Hey, great question.
Hey, great question.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
What kind of revolution?
What kind of revolution?
Sure.
Sure.
And, yeah, people are, the world is suffering.
You know, the world is suffering.
And let's use the R word more.
Let's use the R word more.
Get it out.
Get it out.
Might not happen.
It might not happen.
We might not have a revolution.
We might not have a revolution.
But let's try
But let's try.
more and more and more.
More and more and more.
I bet think about the year 2220
I've been thinking about the year 2222.
7 generations.
7 generations ahead.
So we have to have a revolution
So we have to have a revolution
to the future.
to reach the future.
Okay, let's go back to slides. Pick it up.
Okay, let's go back to the slides and finish up.
Maybe we'll have time for a few questions.
And maybe we'll have time for a few questions.
So, I'm bye Robin.
So bye-bye, Robin.
Okay, so I call falling down reestablishing my credentials.
So I call falling down reestablishing my credentials.
A few years ago, I started a consulting business
A few years ago, I started a consulting business
called Guess What?
called, guess what?
True Institute.
Achu Institute.
All my grandparents are from Lithuania.
All of my grandparents are from Lithuania.
True.
Achu.
Vogue Rehab has been incredibly supportive.
Voc Rehab has been incredibly supportive
A lot of help to launch.
and with a lot of help to launch.
And the way I focus is really on brain mad-bred disability intersection.
And the way I focus on is green, mad pride, disability intersection.
Mind freedom is a current major client.
Mind Freedom is a current major
A
client.
past major client was WHO.
A past major client was WHO.
Ask me about that.
Ask me about that.
Yes, and also the Unitarian Universalists.
And also the Unitarian Universalists.
Next slide.
Next slide.
So here are some of the advisors.
So here are some of our advisors.
Black Lives Matter,
Black Lives Matter,
including marginalized CSX women, Black women.
and including marginalized CSX Black women.
Thank you, TC, survivor of forced shock,
Thank you, TC, survivor of forced
Women.
shock,
for PhD.
who went on to get a PhD.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Next slide.
Next slide.
So in a few hours, Peerpocalypse will have a caucus
So in a few hours, Peerpocalypse will have a caucus
organized by my dear friend Celia Brown
organized by my dear friend Celia Brown
and Jen Patron.
and Jen Patron.
So Celia is the board president of Mind Freedom.
So Celia is the board president of Mind Freedom.
So I hope folks tune in.
So I hope folks tune in.
Dismantle and dismantle systemic white supremacy, everybody.
Dismantle systemic white supremacy, everybody.
If you're for white supremacy, I hope you're healed, but you are an enemy.
If you are for white supremacy, I hope you're healed, but you are an enemy.
Love your enemies.
Love your enemies.
But we have some next.
But we have some. Next slide.
So again, wonderful Black leader, Yvonne,
So again, a wonderful Black leader, Yvonne,
active with rap, by the way.
active with rap, by the way.
But Yvonne and I, for years, have been on her committee,
But Yvonne and I, for years, have been on her committee,
the Mental Health NCIL,
Mental Health and MCIL.
and one of the main places for the intersection,
And one of the main places for the intersection
disability and mental health.
of disability and mental health.
We meet every fourth
We
Tuesday.
meet every fourth Tuesday.
Simply become a member of Nickel
Simply become a member of Nickel
online, and you can join our committee.
And you can join our committee.
Ron Bassman,
who
took my place,
is
a psych survivor.
He's a psych survivor.
Tortured by forced shock. Became a psychologist.
And an author.
And Ron is working with Nickel to help local independent living centers work on our issue.
And Ron is working with Nickel to help local independent living centers work on our issue.
Next slide. Okay. To get a background on the whole disability movement. Be sure to see Crip Camp. On Netflix. It starts culturally. Young people having fun, peer support.
Peer support in nature.
And then they are the roots of activism.
They are the roots of activism.
And this goes so well with the next slide. Piss on Pity. The first film in a series. Many photos by the wonderful Tom Olin. Who's one of us. And this shows the roots of adapt. Which is kind of like the mind freedom and the disability movement.
In the disability
By
movement.
the way, there's a new Oregon chapter of ADAPT.
And by the way, there's a new Oregon chapter of ADAPT.
Next slide.
Next slide.
So there are some folks that get confused about disability and mad pride.
So there are some folks who get confused about disability and mad pride.
They incredibly, when they have written about this, guess who's been critical?
So incredibly, when I've written about this, guess who has been critical?
Some of my radical psych survivor friends. They said, hey, I'm not in the mad movement. I'm normal. I'm not part of the disability movement. I'm normal. Wow. A normal person. Seriously. Gay people in the 1970s fought the psychiatrists. They didn't say gay is disabled. But guess what? There's a huge variety of opinions.
There's a huge variety of opinions
in the disability movement. Now there's Phil having a recovery from a head injury. Hit by a half-ton truck. There were x-rays. All right, so anybody questioning disability. We'll show you the truck photo and the x-rays. All right, now, guess what, everybody? Whether or not your label is real. You have the right to empowerment. Choice. Compassion. Peer support. Everything. We are the 100%. Next slide. So guess what? They
So guess what?
funded alternatives for years.
So SAMHSA funded Alternatives Conference for years,
Is not a dime anymore,
but has not a dime anymore.
but they have millions for programs,
But they have millions for programs
for outpatient, for stroke,
for outpatient forced drugging.
117 sites.
117 sites.
What a betrayal.
What a betrayal.
SAMHSA, we love you, but you are an enemy.
SAMHSA, we love you, but you are an enemy.
Next slide.
Next slide.
So he calls for revolution. Dana's appears in the UN.
Danis appears in the UN and calls for revolution.
It's official.
It's official.
Next.
Next. Next slide.
Greta identifies as autistic
Greta identifies as autistic
and severe problems,
and had severe problems,
including non-communication.
including non-communication.
So now we're next slide.
Next slide.
We're with you, Greta. She calls her autism her superpower.
We're with you, Greta. She calls for autism her superpower.
We in Peerpocalypse need to fight Normogeddon,
We in Peerpocalypse need to fight Normalgeddon.
so-called normality is wrecking the planet.
So-called normality is wrecking the planet.
We absolutely need to have a revolution.
And we absolutely need to have a revolution.
Talk about it.
Talk about it.
Use the R word.
Use the R word.
Next slide.
Next slide.
And email me.
And email me.
Will ya?
Will ya?
Come on.
Come on.
One, I mean, is a bunch to ask.
Is that much to ask?
44 years, little cripple boy.
44 years, little cripple boy.
For email. And by the way, Drake, that includes you.
Oh, and by the way, Drake, that includes you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.